Welcome to the cell, everybody. Cool conversations with the most amazing salespeople I can find.
Everybody, welcome back to the cell. I always like to call it the conversation with the coolest salespeople on the planet, but we are all self-described coolest salespeople on the planet. But 12 hours time difference. We are exactly opposite sides of the world. So I'm going to say, Austin Guest, good morning to you. How's life in New York?
Good and good evening, Ned. It's terrific here. It's starting to feel like fall, which is always like my favorite time in the city. So happy to have the temperatures cooling. Happy to be able to get outside without sweating to death, and just grateful, man.
Well, before we get into sales, you said happy to get outside. I saw on LinkedIn
Yeah,
that you said you are outdoors, travel, that type of stuff. Any magical
yeah.
adventures you've been on recently?
Candidly, this is probably not the best answer for a podcast, but I've been so busy working, I haven't really had a chance to. So I would say our excursion, like every morning, we do go over to Central Park and walk around. So we're right at Central Park. 72nd and Central Park West is like right over there. So
Yep.
we go over there and kind of walk around Strawberry Fields and walk through the park, usually at least like 20, 30 minutes a day just to stay, mostly sane around here.
It, Central Park. I think quite a few people know who listen to this. I like running, and when I'm in New York, running in Central Park is just one of the great running routes of the world.
Can't beat it, can you?
Do you ever get bored of it?
I try not to. I think one thing that I try to be intentional of is never, just never getting so used to a place that I take it for granted because I think that's really easy to do. Like we have a beach place, and we moved down to the beach and kind of stopped going to the beach. So I'm just trying to learn from that. Like when we're here, just trying to be in New York, actually leverage and take advantage of all that it's got to offer, and just do again as much as we can when we're not working here. But as you know, New Yorkers love to work.
Hey, yeah, no one's. New York is not sitting, sleeping, and doing nothing. People are
No,
getting at it for sure. But so we're going to talk a
exactly.
whole bunch. We're going to talk a whole bunch about sales. I've actually noticed on your LinkedIn page you have a fantastic quote on the front page, but I will save it for a minute. I must admit, as you mentioned, your accent is not from New York. Why don't you give us just a couple of minutes intro to yourself? You know how you found
Yeah.
yourself in sales and how you found yourself in New York.
Yeah, I'm actually from a small mill town in South Carolina called Anderson, South Carolina. Tiny little town. If you've never heard of it, you're in the majority. Grew up there. Went to school at Clemson University. Majority of my professional career was actually spent in Greenville, South Carolina. And everybody always asks me how we got to New York, and the answer is pretty simple. I married extremely well. I love my wife. I married way over my head, and she'd actually lived here off and on for about a decade. She had a pied à terre, and she looked at me one day when we were traveling. She just said, "Hey, I think I'm going to live in New York for at least a year." Okay, let's go. So I actually came up, and that's how I ended up getting into fintech of all things. Came to New York, was like, well, I gotta find something to do up there to keep me busy and keep me active and try to grow. Ended up getting into the fintech space and just kind of running with it from there. It's been 4 or 5 years of just really fun stuff.
Well, that I mean, look, having a partner that makes life better is a great thing. That's cool. You got up there when you were in so when you were in Greenville.
Mhm.
Was it always sales for you? Because I know we're going to jump into sales and talk about all of that.
Yeah.
Was it always sales for you in Greenville, or did you work in other areas first?
Yeah. I've always been in sales oriented roles. It's just something that I kind of knew coming out of school that I wanted to do. Um, Firstly, I wanted to find a way to make money. That was really my goal number one. I'd love to give you some long-winded spiel about how I just love sales, but it was, I came from a background where I didn't really have much, and I knew I wanted to do something. And sales was a good avenue to do that because sales is very indiscriminate. Sales doesn't care who you are or where you're from or well, what your family does for a living, like a lot of professions do. It's just can you bring it every day? Can you be really good at what you do, and can you generate good numbers and be productive? And that's something that really attracted me to it because it's again somebody with my background. I just had to find something where it didn't matter who I was or where I was from or what I did. It's just can you come in and can you do this and do it well and get your teeth kicked in regularly like everybody else.
What a great phrase, Austin. I love that. Sales is
Yeah,
indiscriminate. Like you just,
it
and
is.
your add-on phrase, you just have to bring it every day. It's so true,
You
right?
do. Yeah, that's. I think everybody wants like a quick fix or a sales hack, and there are some things that can give you an advantage, that you can do to maximize your time. But there's really no hack. It's just you just have to come in every day, get after it, be intentional, build pipeline, push it through, and just keep the whole thing going. It's like balancing spinning plates, all the time. Just trying to keep them all going.
I think as a 30-second pitch on sales, I think you nailed it, right? Come in every day, build
Thank you.
pipeline, be intentional, get it done. So what were you
Mhm.
selling as you came out of school and in Greenville? Was it in finance or in other areas or anything,
Yeah,
or you sold a bit of everything?
yeah, I actually got into commercial real estate coming out of college. So I was coming out of grad school, got into commercial real estate in 2006, was a retail
That's some
broker,
timing.
and it was actually going swimmingly. I was actually having, a lot of success, and that's where I really started to leverage the phone. Like that became my primary tool or weapon, if you will. Then 2008 happened then, and I was actually sitting at a table with a couple of my mentors, and they had bets going on who was going to make the least amount of money over the next 3 years. And I don't really come from a background where financially that was even possible for me. So ended up having to pivoted to medical devices. Did medical devices for a few years, did financial services for a few years, and then pivoted over to the fintech side here.
You say that the phone was your best weapon.
Yeah,
So many people are scared of the phone, right? It's really a
I
scary
know.
object for a lot of people. What's your thoughts on how you made it a non-scary and maybe a question for today? Is it still a weapon of choice today?
It very much is. I think it's actually a competitive advantage more now than ever, simply because nobody does it. Um, at least nobody does it extremely well. And I don't mean that snarky, but like people just stopped
Right?
picking up the phone. They started leveraging, and I love automations and stuff of that nature. And we use that. I do that. I practice what I preach. But the phone is the one thing, you could take everything else away, and we're still going to book meetings, every day with our ideal personas. And as far as like actually, embracing it, again, I probably shouldn't say this on a sales podcast. It's still tough to pick up the phone the first time in the morning.
Sure.
I'm 45 years old. I've been doing it for, a little while now, but there's still that little bit of hesitancy. And I think it's just because we're all humans, right? None of us really wake up in the morning and go, oh man, I'd really love to get rejected this morning. That's really going to make my day great. But the thing about this thing, and you know this, is you really don't win in this space without just losing. Uh, nobody seems to nobody seems to celebrate the losses. I almost think that sometimes we should. Like if you get hung up on, you need to celebrate that because you're that much closer to an actual deal, and like finding somebody that will convert and will close. Um, I think a lot of like phone reluctance. Would love to get your opinion on this. I think a lot of phone reluctance comes from fear, right? Like I don't want to be turned down. I don't want to, again, it's just unnatural. And then I think quite often there's a tremendous amount of ego involved for people that won't pick up the phone. And again, not in a snarky way, but just, it's quite often people don't want to actually fail because they've got this image of themselves that, oh, I'm like this perfect salesperson and just sales machine and perfect closer. And, none of us are. I still don't bat 1,000. I never will. You don't need to. You just need to win the percentage of times that it takes for you to do what you need to do.
I think that the phrase you used was, you've got to turn up and get your teeth kicked in pretty regularly, right? I think when you
Yeah,
learn that
yeah,
getting your teeth kicked in is actually okay, right? It's actually fine. And I,
exactly.
I have a thought process around it. The way I think about it is, as soon as you can understand it's not personal, right? When someone says no to you, they're
Yeah,
not saying, "Hey, Austin, no, I don't like you. You suck, Austin. No, no, no." What they're saying is
exactly.
no to your product. Sure, your pitch could be better.
Hmm.
I'm sure sometimes you get a no because your pitch sucked, but a lot of the
Hmm.
time it's just the wrong person at the wrong time of day. The wrong, and the quicker you just let that go,
Exactly.
you can move on.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't internalize because that's just a person on the other end that's, doing other things, distracted, has other priorities. And I think a good example of that is sometimes people will come inbound, explicitly show, and interest in meeting with us. And I still sometimes have to kind of chase them down to get them on the calendar. And then I'll get them on the calendar. We'll pitch them. They'll end up onboarding, and yeah, they're clearly excited to learn more. But again, everybody, I think it's just wise to accept that to a degree now, everybody is running around with some level of ADD. Everybody's kind of got their phone out. Like people are just distracted. People come to my website even that have an interest in Finney, want to learn about Finney, but don't book time. So we have to flag them and put them in a drip campaign to just kind of stay in front of them and stay on top of them. We actually win a lot of deals just on our website visitors, just kind of staying in front of them, being there, and just being there when the timing is right. Like you said, the right person at the mostly right time is a good combination.
I love that, but it all goes back to the same thing you've been talking about. It's about this relentlessness,
Yeah,
right? It is.
yeah,
But I think you learn it. Look, I started cold calling. My famous story is I actually spent 6 months selling horse manure on a phone, so
uh,
bags of garden fertilizer, so actual shit.
yeah,
So I was literally calling
yeah,
people up and selling them shit. But I remember thinking, for the right person at the right time, they needed fertilizer for their garden. I was being useful,
exactly.
but
Hmm.
I think the fact that 1,000 people told me, no, I don't want your bags of shit, is totally
Hmm.
fine. But what I noticed, and this was even back then, so I'm 58, so when I started this, it was really pen and I had a phone directory and I would mark
Yeah.
out who I called. But if they said call
Hmm.
back, I would write call back Monday and I write a
All
little
back.
list. And you know what? I made the most sales when I called back the following week, when I called back the following Monday.
Hmm.
That's how you make deals, right?
Exactly. You do. Again, right person, mostly right time, and you've got a good combination.
You've got it.
And so
So
it's
I
just
think this
on us. It's really like the onus is on us to just stay in front of you. Always tell people like it's not, the onus is not on our potential buyers to follow up with me. It's on me to follow up with them because we want to earn their business, earn their trust, and just demonstrate value along the way. It's again no real specialty other than just do it.
So I think it's a perfect time to read from your LinkedIn page on your banner.
Yeah.
It says, the more you prospect, the luckier you get. And
Yeah.
by Jeb, don't have my glasses on. I need to put them on. I lost them for
Jeb
a minute
Jeb
ago.
Blount, the fanatical
That,
prospecting guy,
that's right.
and I
Now, I
believe
think
that.
that
I really do.
it, that's a little bit. I think it was Gary Player, the golfer, who once said, "The more I practice, the
Love
luckier I
him.
get." Is this
Yep.
is this basically a, the same as that?
It really is because I think the majority of salespeople who struggle and underperform and the like tend to just not build enough pipeline, right? I really do think that's a tremendous portion of just trying to be really good in this space. It's just being able to fill your pipeline with way more than you'll ever need. And I like to do that because it gives me comfort. Like you'll never really see me racing at the end of the month to hit quota or anything like that. Candidly, I like to fill my pipe, and this is going to sound a little different, but I like to fill my pipeline up so much that when I jump on a call with somebody who's a potential buyer, that I don't really like, I'm not pushy. I don't need to close you. I don't need you to come on board. I don't need to sell you because it just makes the conversation sound different. It makes it sound like my goal is just to make it sound like a fireside chat. Like I actually do need to make sure you're a good fit for this thing. My quota was met, you know, first week and a half of the month. Like again, and going into the month, if you're just doing the things that you need to do every day, you can get there. You can get there quickly. But again, I love that comfort of just having way more than I'll ever need. I always assume, and I still do this, even though people want to be complimentary, which I appreciate, by the way, but I still just kind of assume anywhere I go, I just assume I'm the worst person in the organization from a selling standpoint. And that I'm just going to work so hard and fill up my pipeline so much that, even if I am the worst, that I'll still be fine and I'll still be good. As you know, like as you get more reps, you do just naturally get, better faster. So it does help ramp. But it also, again, like I just take comfort in knowing that my pipeline's massively full. I don't need to close everybody I get on with. I really don't want to. And I just want it to be a good buying experience for the people that come through and the people that actually trust us with their business. That's really important.
Dude, this is gold. I'm not just saying it. I mean, this is the first
Thank
time
you.
we've chatted. I know we've been on
No, thank
LinkedIn a
you.
bit, but it's a lovely way to think about it. Because if you jump on a call and you're like, oh shit, like I gotta close this dude, right? It's completely
Yeah,
different. Right?
yeah,
And even if the prospect maybe doesn't say it, they can feel it too.
they can. It starts coming through in your language and your tone and pretty much everything that you do. And one thing that's really interesting, and I think that people always need to be mindful of is, people like to buy from somebody that just actually gives them a good experience, explains things, walks them through it, talks them through it, and doesn't need to like ring a bell, like, oh, I gotta sell, I hit quota. Again, I honestly don't even think of quota. It's really just not even, I mean, my coworkers will tell you, I usually don't even know how much revenue I've closed. I just go really fast every day. I let them track that stuff. The numbers do kind of take care of themselves.
So I was having a debate with someone the other day.
Yeah.
Are sales targets a good thing? And my thought is no. Why? Because why would you sell to a target? You just sell as much as you
Hmm.
can. I wonder what your take on it is.
Correct. That's what I do, and that's the approach that I take. And I think for that persona, it's terrific. And it's again, quote is kind of irrelevant. It's just we're gonna try to find the right people, find a lot of them, and get them in to work with us. I think some people do need sales targets, though. Uh, I think if they're a little bit earlier in their career, a little bit younger, it's almost like they need something to chase and kind
Yeah,
of
good
go
point.
after. And then I think as a leader, you almost need something to kind of benchmark them against, and just say,
Good
hey,
point. Yeah.
you did 100,000 last month. Your quota is 120. Here's what we need to do to get you to 120. But again, in a perfect world where everybody just shows up and gets after it every day, yeah, you shouldn't really need a quota. You shouldn't need a number. You should just go get it and just literally be like a whirling dervish and find as many
Yeah.
good people as you can to work with. And if you do, again, the quota thing doesn't matter. The numbers don't matter. They really do just take care of themselves.
It's a good point, Austin. Actually, so I've always been a little bit like, I don't know. I have a 25-year-old daughter, works in Tribeca, works at a SaaS company, and she's doing
Yeah.
pretty well. But she's also like, every month she's like, Dad, I made target. Like I made target. Like I did it,
Yeah.
and you can see it definitely fires her up. Like she's like, oh my God, I
Hmm.
gotta do it. I don't think she takes her foot off the gas when she hits it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. A target in the right place at the right time. But like, and again,
Hmm.
without talking ourselves up, for guys
Yeah.
like us who have been selling forever, if you don't want to get after it
Hmm.
every day and get at it and just do as much as you can, I
Yeah.
don't think a target's going to help you, right?
Hmm. And hopefully people kind of graduate to where they don't need one. Hopefully they come in, they start seeing some success. They see that their process works and actually doing it every single day, for a significant period of time, kind of gets them to the point where they're really good at this thing. And they can, honestly, like every org I've been at, and I don't mean this braggadociously, my goal's always been to at least double my quota, you know.
So
So it's it's
that's
never oh man, let me just hit my number. And that's fine to be wired that way. By the way, I'm not knocking it. I actually get envious sometimes with people who are just like satisfied with hitting quota and coasting because it's just not how I'm wired. Like I'll actually be miserable if I do that. Um, but
that.
I do. I think you also like Ned. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I think also in life you have a tendency to hit the target that you set. Right. So if you say, hey, man, I'm going to go out and get $1 million of ARR this year, you're probably going to get somewhere near a million. If it's higher, if it's, hey, I'm going to double my quota. Well, okay, great. So if you come up a little bit short, you're at 173%. Like, I'll still take that for a year too. I think the average seller really would. So it's just where do you want to put your benchmark? And I think also, and this is not to get like too conceptual, but I think if you're a seller, you really should just try to blow your number out of the water because I think it just gives you control of your own destiny. And I think that's something that I really enjoy, that I really take comfort in is you put up big numbers, you're just in a safe zone in a way. And that's a really cool feeling that's hard to find, but when you find it, it's really nice.
I think it's a really good point. I think it's, sales is one of those careers. It's brutal on the one side,
Mm.
because if you don't hit your numbers, you're kind of
Hmm.
out the door, right? You can smile
Exactly.
all your life and be like, yeah, I'm trying hard, and that's great. But I
Yeah.
love this
Yeah.
idea. Like, if your target's a million and you shoot for two and make 1.73, life's good. You get paid commission.
Yeah.
You're not getting fired. You can
Hmm.
do what you want to do. It
Yeah.
gives you the freedom. But so, as people know, I like running, and one of my running friends, we message each other most mornings because I get up pretty early to train, 4:35. He gets up at the same. He's in
Yeah.
another country, and we have a
Yeah.
phrase that says discipline will set you free, and
It
the
does.
idea
It
it
does.
does, and that's running
Hmm.
or sales. Right? This is what you're talking about, right? If you have the discipline,
Yeah.
you can do what you want to do, right?
You really do, and it's again, it's not the you're never going to be able to sell a course on discipline and how to. Everybody kind of wants a quick fix, which is fine. Like I get that; it's very human. So not even knocking it, but really the cool stuff, all the special stuff, like becoming a great runner, becoming a great weightlifter, becoming a great salesperson, really just kind of found in the day to day. So what are you doing between, 6 a.m. and 7 p.m.? That's really kind of if you do that for a long enough period of time, that's where your results either come from or don't come from. Um, and it's not, saying like you gotta work 15 hours a day. You don't have to. If you want to, that's fine. There's no, it's all a choice. There's all kinds of gives and takes in this thing.
So I know my listeners will want to hear this because I
Yeah,
completely, I think we're aligned. You said always
sure.
keep your pipeline full.
Yeah,
How? How do you? Everyone's got different
yeah,
ways to keep their pipeline full,
hmm,
but I think people will be
yeah,
like, "Hey, I want to be like Austin. I want to hit double target. I want to do this." But the question
yeah.
I get a lot is, "How do I fill pipeline?" Obviously, I have my ideas, but would love to hear yours. How do you do it?
You just never stop. So a good example, and again, don't mean this braggadociously. I think I've got 17 or 18 pitches today. So it's going to be a busy day. Yeah, I
Wow,
know
let's
it's going
go.
to be a wild one. But one thing I can promise, Ned, is I'm actually going to be prospecting. So today will be like a automation heavy day. Stuff running in the background, booking meetings for me while I'm talking to people, and kind of doing the job. And then if I've got 10 minutes this afternoon between calls, I'll go see anybody that's interacting with any of my stuff. I'll call them, but I'll be actively building pipeline on a day where I think like an average person probably wouldn't, just because again, it's got a ton of stuff to talk about, a ton of pitches to do, but I'm also thinking to like next week, like I want my next Wednesday to be busy. I want my next Tuesday to be busy, and I just want to keep the thing going. So, in order to do that, I've got to just continuously build. And I think a lot of people do, like you mentioned, taking the foot off the gas earlier. I think a lot of people do that, and that's fine. Again, not judging anybody that chooses to do that, but that's just not me. If I'm at 220, I want to get to 240. If I'm at 240, I'd like to get to 260. And again, just those incremental improvements. And by the way, like I actually enjoy this stuff. It genuinely is a fun gig for me. So it's, I kind of get, again, I still get my teeth kicked in just like anybody. Like you'll never see a LinkedIn post like, hey, here's Austin, getting his teeth kicked in. I still do, but the numbers just tend to work out in my favor. At the end of every day, every week, every month, every
I,
quarter, every six
everything
months.
everything you've said is pointing to the same thing, right? It is
Yeah,
repeated actions
yeah,
of what sales are. It's just
yeah.
you repeat the meanings. On the automation, email automation, like you're just sending out mass emails, calling. What
Hmm.
type of, automation is a tough thing because obviously, look, I didn't
Yeah,
grow up with automation. I'm 58. I started by
me
manual.
neither.
Right? Exactly.
Me neither.
But obviously, I'm not blind to it. I'm not against it, and I
Hmm.
fully understand it can work. How are you using it, or how would you recommend people use it today with the balance of being a great human salesperson?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you need to personalize. You can personalize and use automation simultaneously. It's not like a mutually exclusive thing. But for example, when I'm sequencing somebody, what I do is for each recipient, I don't sequence like 1,000 people a day. I don't believe in that approach. I may do like 100 today. What I'll do for each one of them, I'll go through, I'll find one little thing to actually inject in the first line of my email that inject like shows, hey, I looked you up and I learned a little bit something about you. And I'll also like when I do like a bump to kind of bump it back up within their inbox, I'll keep that message short so that they see the personalization. So I'm actually benefiting from it multiple times. That's a strategy that I've leveraged and it works well. And then I actually use Fitney for prospecting too. actually use our tool to prospect. And we've got the ability to send LinkedIn messages in an automated fashion, but to also personalize them. Again, not like just a copy and paste kind of blind template because I tried that stuff. It didn't work. I stopped it after about 2 days
It
because it was
doesn't.
just
The,
such a bad look.
the blind template, same
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
It does not work.
Yeah, it doesn't. So on that side, I'm able to just leverage our LinkedIn automation, let it kind of do some of that work for me. And then quite often I will personalize my LinkedIn messages, actually go in, find Ed's profile, type something out and send it your way. So kind of a combination of approaches. But I would say when you've got, 17, 18 demos in a day, you kind of need to preserve your voice too. So I wouldn't really want to rip calls for 2, 3 hours because it'd probably be pretty bad for the other people that I've got to talk to. But again, that's just like a little insight. I think no matter where you are, it doesn't matter if you've hit quota, keep prospecting because there's a lag anyway. Like, there'll be stuff that I do today that actually pays, and bears fruit next month, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. And I love that compounding and how it all stacks on one another. Next thing you know, you're in month 6 and somebody from month 1 comes back to you and month 3, month four and
Oh,
a half.
I always tell people, you want to make money and I'm in, B2B sales where it can be 6, 9, 12 months, right?
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
money in 12 months? Pick up the phone today.
Hmm.
Literally pick up the
Exactly.
phone today, and in 12 months' time, you'll have money. And if they're like, yeah, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
have money today, I'm like, yes, that's because you didn't pick up the phone 12 months ago.
Because you did exactly. There's a lag that you need to acknowledge, be mindful of, and plan around. Right? We're dealing with human beings, and we always have to remember that. Like there's it's very low likelihood that you're just going to find somebody magically to buy your stuff today because you need to hit quota because it's the last day of the month and you're 85%. But you may find a unicorn. Just most often you won't. Right? It's
I,
fair to
I,
say.
I remember back in the days, again, when I was selling horse shit over the phone, I'd be like, oh, because I was the seller, I would call them up and say, hey, my rep has a bag of fertilizer. He's in your place. He's outside your door. You
Yeah.
can drop it in. And I used to be like, oh, yeah, my rep's there. Of course, the rep wasn't there, right? And I'd be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yo, dude, get down the street immediately. And, we'd have to send him down
Uh-huh.
to. But I remember thinking back on that. That's not the long-term way to do it, right? You're not building a long-term relationship by stuffing somebody on the
Mhm.
last day of the quarter to hit your total. That is not the long-term solution.
Yeah, that way just to me, again, not to get too philosophical, but that way to me seems so much more stressful than just having, 4 times the pipeline you need. I don't think I could be one of those people that kind of got to, I just wouldn't deal well with it if I got to, day 28 on the month and I'm 67% to quote. It would drive me crazy. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Like it really would be really uncomfortable. And so I
I
just kind
think
of choose the day-to-day pain over the end of month pain is probably a quick way to summarize it.
but that's the same thing as we've been saying. Discipline will set you free. Fill up your pipeline. You
Yeah.
do those same things every day. Tell me a little bit about your current company. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing there, because if you're doing 17
Yeah.
demos a day, there must be something going on with it, right?
Yeah, we've had quite a growth trajectory. So I think March we were at 250 grand of recurring revenue. We're
Yep.
about 15, 16 months old. So we help advisors prospect, help them generate very targeted lists with very creepy data, and help them target them with automation. And it's been just a crazy growth story. Again, 250 in March, August hit 2.5 million. Probably going to be at 3 by the end of this month. So like just growing
Wow.
like a weed. Just one of the probably one of the wildest rides I've ever been on. But we've got it's not just me. Yeah, I do my job and I do it pretty well, but we got a good team, good product. Um, I think we're doing a lot of things right, and we just really want to do good work for the advisors that we work with. That's really important to us.
But in essence, you're enabling them to be great at sales. Is that fair
Exactly.
to say?
That's very
Because
fair.
yeah,
Very
I mean,
fair.
I was a financial advisor when I started my career long, long ago, just for a short period, and it
Hmm.
can sometimes it's a tough profession, and the
It
sales of it
is.
sometimes has a bad rap. They doesn't,
Hmm.
financial advisory sales. So what is it? What is
Yeah.
it that you guys provide that makes the difference?
Yeah, so we've got, again, really interesting data. So we've got a database. It's about 300 million individuals. It's just about every American over the age of 18 in America. And it's a combination net. So it's anything that's publicly available, relevant, and credible. We build bots to go out and scrape that for us. But the real key is we also contract with about 3 dozen private data vendors. We buy data from and use to enrich every profile every week. So a lot of segments and businesses and industries have used private data for a long time. We're just actually bringing it into the financial services space. So, for example, if Ned's coming to New York, Ned wants to meet with people that have a net worth of at least $1 million or more, who are 45 to 60 years old, who like to play golf and have Googled retirement planning in the last 60 days. I can show you who those people are. We can help you build a list. And then we'll also help you generate a campaign to target that list in a personalized way. So via LinkedIn, via emails, we actually created a message generation system in house. So um, I don't want advisors sitting around building a ton of emails or building a ton of LinkedIn messages. Because when we build a cadence for you to target that audience, keep in mind we've got all these facts on every single recipient. So we actually pull those facts into the messaging itself because I want it to feel like, hey, this Ned guy did a couple of minutes of research on me before he reached out, probably found me on LinkedIn, candidly, and is reaching out for the specific purpose here.
That's great, man. Like it feels like what you've learned most of your career, you're now taking and injecting in here, right? It's the same thing.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah,
automating it.
we actually get to kind of practice what we preach, which is nice.
That is cool. Um, I always ask people on the show this. This is not one of the random questions at the end, but
Yeah,
I always ask. Sales will always be your thing, right? Do you ever think you'd ever
yeah.
do anything different, or this is your DNA forever?
No, it's just my thing. It's what I've got my 30,000 hours in. It's what I enjoy. It's what I'm best at. It's what adds the most economic value. Not to get too economic, but it is. That's my economic value is in selling a lot and doing it really well. So no desire to pivot, no desire to really, even as head of sales, like I'll always have an IC component because I always need to be on the field. I always need to be in conversations. I always want to stay relevant. I always want to know what kind of objections people are hearing, what kind of feedback they're hearing. So I'll always be on the field. I'll never come completely off. I have no desire to do that. I think
Yeah.
the moment I do that, I'll become less effective, and that
I
wouldn't be nice. I wouldn't enjoy that.
I think just in this half an hour conversation, Austin, I just couldn't even ever imagine you like not doing it. This is your 100%
Yeah.
thing. As I said, you said you're a sales leader, head of sales. How do you think?
Mhm.
And I get asked this a lot. I mean, I train sales team and I train sales leaders. I often get
Yeah.
asked about hiring. Like, can
Yeah.
you automatically spot a great salesperson? How much training do they need? I'm sure you've built sales teams over time. Would love to hear
Mhm.
your take or advice because I get asked a lot. What are the secrets of hiring
Yeah.
and building a great sales team?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think it's almost counterintuitive, Ned, because I think so many people have like these misconceptions of what selling is. So keep in mind, salespeople when they're interviewing, they're always going to sell themselves. But I think a lot of organizations hurt themselves because they sit there and think, oh man, a salesperson is somebody who's extremely extroverted. They talk a lot. They talk really fast. They move really fast. They're very animated. And just in my experience, that's not been the case. In my experience, the ones who are really like the top performers listen more. We don't, you know, get into pitch city and just start spouting stuff at you. We actually ask questions, try to tailor it. I think coachability is a big one as well. So one thing that we've done, as part of this hiring process is give people a case study to do. So I can tell if you came in prepared for that or not. And if you didn't, it's probably not a good indicator because we prepare for every call. I've got 17 or 18. I was actually pulling notes on them at 5 o'clock this morning, so that when I get into my day, I've got that stuff beside me because I need to be able to tailor what we do to everybody I speak with. It's not canned. It's let me just make sure I can make this make sense for Ned's business specifically. So I think coachability and like, how hard are you working? Are you actually listening to our demos in the case study and trying to get a feel for what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like, or are you just kind of winging this thing? Because we don't wing it. You could. It just probably isn't going to work out that well.
That is great. Like, I do think the coachability the willingness to work hard. But, I often get told, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson. I say, why? Oh, you're
Yeah.
all like slimy dudes in suits who talk the whole time. I'm like, no, that's the
No,
bad salespeople. That's the salespeople who are not doing it.
exactly. Ned always joked if people saw me walking down the street, they're not going to look at me and go, "Oh man, I bet that guy's an incredible tech seller." Candidly, like even in our apartment building, we're in a building on the Upper West. Like my neighbors all kind of assumed I was like a writer or an artist or something of that nature, right? Like I'm not everybody's thought of an elite salesperson. I'm not. There are times when I'm extroverted. There are times when I just am extremely introverted. I don't want to talk to anybody, especially at the end of the day. So again, I think it's just kind of getting past the stereotypes. Like I'll take somebody who is a little bit more deliberate, a little bit more intentional, a little bit slower, but like very serious about what they do and how they do it. I'll take that all day over the flashy candidate, because everybody puts on that face when they come in.
I actually interviewed a salesperson today for one of my clients. There, I had me interviewed,
Hmm.
and I asked him, "How do you interview?" Because he's going to be a sales leader. I said, "How do you interview salespeople?"
Yeah.
Because I said, "This is exactly the problem. When you interview salespeople, they
Hmm.
all turn up with their best sales, right? They all turn up.
Exactly.
Oh, look at me, I'm ready to go. But you know that they're selling themselves. What you're looking for, I
Hmm.
agree. You sometimes get that feeling. Somebody,
Yeah.
I like this phrase, somebody who could be interested, not interesting. They're interested in you, the interviewer, not
Yeah.
trying to make
Yeah.
themselves interesting. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, that's it. That's what then you get the
Yeah.
sense. It's such a joy, isn't it,
Exactly.
when you're interviewing somebody and you're like,
Hmm.
oh my God, this might be the person. They might be
Like
great.
that. It's like that intersection. I always tell people there's that intersection. There's talent, right, which is good to have, and then there's hard work. And if you just kind of overlap the two to a degree, you've got a really good recipe. You can have a great career. You're gonna make a lot of money. You can invest that money. You'll be able to take great care of your family. You can have as much upward mobility as you want. But we got to be able to do both. Quite often the talent actually comes along with the hard work. You don't have to be the most talented person starting out. You got to work hard, and you got to at least indicate an interest in learning, getting better, being coachable, and all that good stuff. Which again, I think you can really dig into in an interview. You kind of get to the point where like, hey, I think this person is actually very reliable. They're going to show up early every morning. They're going to work hard. They're not going to make a ton of excuses, and they're just going to find a way to get it done.
I love it. Do you think it's DNA? Do you think anybody can be sales, or do you think some of it's just
I actually do. I really do. I think there's a component. I mean, maybe there's a subset of the population where it's just such an uncomfortable fit that they shouldn't. But I really do think anybody can do it and do it well. I actually had my CTO on a call with me the other day, and so he was kind of walking through some things and talking through some things, and he did extremely well because he wasn't trying to sell, man. He was literally just kind of telling them what works, how it works, kind of going under the hood a bit, and not even trying to sell it. And ended up doing a terrific job. So I think it's something that can be learned. I just think a lot of people don't want to learn it because it comes with so much rejection, right? The learning curve really does require a level of rejection that just most jobs don't.
but I think once you realize that rejection is not personal, it's totally fine. Like I always have
Exactly.
you just let the no's go. Let the no go. Just be fine
Hmm.
with it. It's okay. Of course, if you
Yeah.
got a no because you did a bad pitch, of course you got to improve your pitch. Of course, but if the person
Yeah.
was literally the wrong person at the wrong time who just didn't want your thing, it's okay.
Hmm.
Smile,
Yeah.
move on,
Yeah.
go to the
Go
next
go
one.
find
Right?
the right person. Yeah, and I think the more you can take that mentality, not internalize anything, but just okay, on to the next one. If you win, on to the next one. If you lose, on to the next one. You don't really, my team will tell you, anybody that I've ever worked with, I never really celebrate. It's just not my thing, and I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's just that the moment that it's done, it's like, okay, what are we doing next? How are we like building more pipeline? How are we just keeping this whole thing going, so that we can go really fast and just do something special? And you can't do that if you close a big deal and then take like 3 days off. Yeah, you just kind of are shooting yourself in the foot. Again, not knocking those who celebrate. It's just I don't. I just kind of move on to that. And if I call you up and you cuss me out and hang up on me, I really don't care. I'm really just going to call the next person. It's totally fine. Not
Oh
not a
my
big
God.
deal. God bless you.
Honestly,
Good
awesome.
luck.
I love that, man. I love it. I love it. I have another side hobby, which is poker. I play Texas Hold'em quite a bit, and
Nice.
there's a phrase in there: "Don't play results." What it means is, if you
Hmm.
get your money in good, let's say you've got aces
Yeah.
and you get it in good, and the guy's got 7-2, but the flop comes 7-7-2. Don't beat yourself up,
Hmm.
right? Because look, you got your
Yeah.
money in good. Be disciplined about your behaviors, and the results are the
Yeah.
results. If you get told, cussed out, it's fine. Was your behavior good?
Hmm.
Fine. If you win a
Yeah.
huge deal, sure, be happy in the moment, but you've got to
Yeah.
carry on and do the next one. I think this phrase I use is don't
Exactly.
play results. You do what you do it really well, you do it
Hmm.
repeatedly. And that's, as
Yeah.
you say, at the beginning of, as we come to the end of, it's about 40 minutes, so we're coming towards the end of time. As you said at the beginning, sales doesn't discriminate if you do the work, right?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, there should be no further proof needed than me. I come from a small mill town in South Carolina, Ned. A really small town, economically deprived, right? It just like I shouldn't have made it. I live across the street from where John Lennon lived, and I don't say that braggadociously. It's just that if I can do it, anybody can. I'm nothing special. I'm nothing remarkable. I just work really hard and tend to get things done. But again, like sales, if sales discriminated, I wouldn't be here. I don't have the background, you know. That's
I love it.
that's just I think why I like to do this thing. It just gives me the ability to just experience some cool things, you know.
I think if anybody listened to this 40 minutes and isn't pumped to go out and do sales, I don't know what
Go
would be.
get it.
I think we gave them the blueprint of what to do. Listen, Austin, I super appreciate it, man. I know you've got a busy day
Yeah,
ahead. It is early in the
yeah,
morning. We'll work to let you go. I massively appreciate your thoughts on sales. Love it. Let's stay in
pleasure.
contact. I do always
Definitely.
ask two questions at the end, which are not sales related, but just
Hmm.
two questions to close out. Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, if you could live forever, would you? And why?
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely would. Quick question. Can my wife live forever as well? Because if she can, I totally would. If she
I,
can't, I
I,
don't know. I might want to move along and check other things out.
Okay, we'll, for this case, we'll allow. Yes.
Okay, yeah, totally cool to live forever. And hopefully, when I'm 150, I was better than I was when I was 145.
Great answer. And last question. In this imaginary world in which you live
Yeah,
forever, you can
yeah,
only eat one food forever. It doesn't affect your
mm,
health in any way,
yeah,
but you only get to eat one food for the rest of your time.
hmm,
What food is it and
yeah.
why?
Oh man, just a cheeseburger. Big cheeseburger fan. That's nothing fancy. Just meat, a bun, and a few things on top. That's if I could just have one thing and have it consequence free, that would be it.
Okay, I love a burger too. Are you having it with fries or without? Are you having it with fries or
With
without?
you got to have with, especially if there's no consequence. Yeah, you got to have it with fries, maybe even extra fries with no consequences. If you're gonna do it, just really do it.
It sounds just like yourselves. Austin, we're going to send you at the end of this podcast off to live forever with your wife, eating as many burgers and fries as you like, and
Very nice.
happily selling forever. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for being on the show, and good luck today with all of your calls. Okay,
Likewise. Yeah. Thanks so
excellent.
much for having me, Ned. Been a pleasure, man.
Thanks, Austin.